It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Let me just stop right there. You know what I just realized when I was thanking Scott Larson, who's... Let me give you some background. Scott Larson was the announcer on our syndicated radio shows, almost 20 years ago. Even before, was he doing sounders for us? I'm trying to think. Anyway, so this podcast has been produced for, over 10 years now? And so I thank Larson for something that he recorded for us 10, maybe 11 years already now at this point. So I'm thanking someone who's not really there. But I thank Scott. You know, I got to tell you, and this is totally off track. I wasn't going to do it. No, it's not that he was an employee for us. So when I started my syndicated radio show, it's called radio imaging, by the way, when you have, sounds and intros and stuff produced. And so we were looking for somebody at the very beginning. I don't even know that we had a full team of producers. No, well, we wouldn't have actually. It would have been just me, I guess, at that point. And so, yeah, I found somebody online. And remember, this is before the days of social media and networking. That was, now it's super easy. But I just remember, hearing this guy's demos or examples of work, portfolio, maybe you call it. And I just thought, oh my God, that's exactly the sound that I want for my top 40 show that I was hosting, or I was starting to host. And so it was just amazing because I had the creative idea in terms of words. So I would write the script, is what I mean. And I would, email that off to him within hours. I'm thinking this is going to take him days or just a long time. I would give him, I'm trying to think. I can't think of a funny one, but basically the things that you just heard, right? Like, it's top of the charts with Jeremy Bradley, and then he'll have like a funny... So I would write those things for him, but then he would put them together with sound effects and music and whatever, and it was just kind of this weird... He's got his expertise, I've got my expertise, I give him the words, he's got the creative vision for that, and then it just worked. And so I kind of thought, oh my God, I want you, on this show forever. And so he did. Anytime that we needed, if we were going on location somewhere, and it's like, he'll do the live from Mexico, it's, and just the fastest turnaround, I'd give him the word, and it was exactly, I don't even know that I had expectations when I would send him. Obviously I had expectations for it to be good, but he would just get, sound effects or just different, movie clips or whatever and just kind of throw them in, and it was just amazing. So when I hear that at the start of this show, I just laugh because it's been the same thing for 10 years. Maybe we need to get him to do another one. Maybe after all this, I'm just saying, hey, Larson, come on, give us some new shit here. But he waits for me to give him the words. Anyway, that's a 3-minute rant you'll never get back in your life there. So now, maybe this kind of ties in. It doesn't tie in, but I'll make it tie in because I'm an expert broadcaster and I've been doing this for years. That goes back a generation of broadcasters. And so that's what we're talking about, though, on today's show about family, is the generations. That was a very, very weak tie-in. But I'm the old school generation of radio broadcaster, and now you've got the podcast people, right? Or the YouTubers or whatever they're called. So anyway, but we're talking about generations in regards to family, all right? And I don't know that the younger generation, you youngsters, the young whippersnappers, have a real sense of respect, honor. I might even use the word honor for those that came before them. Now, I'm not talking about, okay, let me explain this. I'm not talking about how young kids don't respect adults. Not what I'm talking about. Not talking about you being in the store and some snotty kid comes and runs and bumps into you. I'm not talking about that. No. I'm just talking about in family relations. That's what I mean, okay? So I'm going to tell you some stories and I'll give you examples on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. So I come from a Polish and Ukrainian family. Not super strict, but definitely very traditional. Very traditional would be, I guess, the best word. And so when I say that, I mean that the roles in the family were kind of defined. Let me put a disclaimer on it by saying this isn't being sexist. This isn't being, chauvinistic or whatever. Let me just explain to you how it is in my family, okay? So again, and I'm a fucking gay guy, so this isn't me bashing women because I have more female friends than I do male friends, okay? So don't give me that crap. I'm already putting it out there because I read the messages. Some of them I don't care to, but all right. So in our family, the women cook and the men do not. And I'm not saying that's their role, that's their play. That's just how it is. And here's why. Because they enjoy cooking. Period. That's it. They enjoy it. So when we have, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, whatever it is, it's not that the men go and say, okay, women, you cook. No. They step up. Oh, I want to cook. It's fun for them. They each have their traditional dishes. My mom does the meatballs. My aunt does the turkey. Like, they all have kind of their thing. Do you know what I mean? So if that's kind of that's the tradition in the family, right? That's, all right, well, so-and-so does this, so-and-so does that. Okay, well, I'll bring this. And so, all right, and then they get to work, and then they do it, and then they have it. And so, and then the guys watch TV, and then they're called in for food, and again, that's just how it is, and that's the way it was back in the day. Now, let me tell you about my grandparents' marriage, okay? They were married 60... Oh, shit. Now I feel like I'm being disrespectful to them because I don't remember the exact year. It was at least 60 years, so I remember celebrating 60 years. Okay. My grandma would cook everything, but my grandpa would not let her wash the dishes. He would physically move her away from the sink if she started washing dishes. He would physically, sit her down. He would take her by the shoulders and force her down. You're not washing dishes. She would do the laundry, and they still had one of those ringer washer things in the basement. They didn't even have. Seriously. He would have a bath. Now, let me explain why he had a bath. My grandpa had throat cancer when I was probably about 4 or 5, I would say. So he had he had a hole in his neck, and then he had the machine that he put to his throat, right, or to his neck. So he couldn't do showers, so he had to have baths at that time. So when he would be having his bath, my grandma would go and wash and iron his clothes, fold them, and then put them on the lid on the toilet seat, like on the lid of the toilet, while he was having the bath. He would cut the grass, so he would do the lawn. She would move all of the ornaments. They had those cows or ducks or, geese or whatever it was on your lawn. She would go and move one of those. He would go and do the row, or he'd go down and then she'd put it back, and then she would move the next one, and then he would go do it. So they had their roles. And you know what? It worked for them. You didn't have her complaining about my husband is controlling. He wasn't calling her a bitch and saying she's, useless. Whatever. No. You know what? It worked for them, so shut your mouth. That end of the day, and also it's a generational thing. That's the point of the show today, right? Talking about the generations. back when they got together, she was 15 and he was 16. Let me give you that story, actually, because I think it's a fascinating story. So I grew up in Winnipeg, in Canada, and my grandma lived in Winnipeg, and my grandpa lived in Winnipeg Beach, which is about 45 minutes north of the city, a rural area, on a farm. I don't remember exactly how they met. He had come into the city, I believe, and so she had met him in the city. But anyway, she would take the train. She would skip school. She would take the train to go and see this boy in Winnipeg Beach. And she said, in not so many words, if my dad found out that I was leaving the city to see a boy, he would have beaten me. She used the word hussy. She would have been called a hussy. And that would be, in today's terms, you'd call her a slut, I guess would be the word. But my point is that there was something there for them. 15 years old and she's... So, again, that would be the equivalent of, let's say, back in the day, I guess you'd still say a 15-year-old. So imagine that, parents. You're 15-year-old. But remember, we're going back in the day. So think traditional lives and roles and things, right? Where there wasn't sex before marriage and all this other stuff, right? So maybe let's say that's the equivalent of your 8-year-old today. They always do like the cost of something, versus the cost of inflation today, or, So yeah, the equivalent of a 15-year-old back then would, let's say, be a 7 or 8-year-old today. So your 7-year-old is going and taking a train to go see a boy or girl, outside of the city. But, that's the ultimate love story, isn't it? Right? And as I said, married 60-some years. So they had their roles in the relationship, whether that's traditional, whether they liked it or not, it worked for them. They still would walk down the street holding hands when we would have get-togethers at their house. He always had his chair at the end of the kitchen table. They didn't have a very big kitchen. She would sit on his knee or in his lap, and it would be, sort of like an embrace. And I'm saying this is, 70-year-olds at the time. Really? That's how, So that's kind of how our family was set up, is that you see them as the example, right? She was the cook. She did everything. She was the one who, we certainly were never disciplined by them, because that's just not what grandparents did. But at the same time, there would be no reason to discipline us. And again, this is a big part of the topic today, which is we kind of viewed them as... I was going to say like a king and a queen. I don't know if that's the right way. What's a good comparison? I don't want to say a police officer, because they weren't authoritative like that. I guess maybe king and a queen. And so I'll elaborate just so it makes sense. You didn't question them. You didn't challenge them. You certainly were not afraid of them. We weren't afraid of our grandparents, but you just kind of were like, they're the leader here. And I would think that, I think that they overruled my parents. That was just one of those things where my mom says no for something, and then my grandma gives me the cookie. I'm not afraid of my mom at that point. Right? What's it? No, you take it up with her. I didn't say. She's the one who gave me the cookie. But again, we just looked at our grandparents a different way. You certainly wouldn't talk back to them. What they said goes. Did they overrule my parents? I can't think of an example, but the cookie thing is probably a likely example of something that happened. Again, I don't remember it now, 40 years later. But no, I wasn't afraid of my grandparents, but I just remembered you don't backtalk them, you don't give them shit, you don't question them, you just, and they were very go with the flow anyway. It's not like they weren't, particular. So I remember later on down the road, when my cousins started to have kids, one of my little cousins, so I guess he's my second cousin. I don't ever understand that first, second, third, fourth cousin thing. But, so he's my cousin's kid, so they're both my cousins then, right? So the second cousin he would be. He was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And at Christmas, because our family became so big, we wouldn't do the event at my grandparents' house anymore. We would rent a hall or like we would rent a lodge kind of a thing, but, for like a private event. I don't know what you call it. But rent it for the day. It was a big enough space. They had like a room to play. There was stuff that you could do outside. And so one of the deals that when you rent it, you would have to clean up, right? You got to pack up the tables and just kind of make it look like, okay, nobody was here. It was on you as the renter to do that. So everybody would pitch in, right? Everybody folds up the chairs and, whatever. So my grandpa started to vacuum. And my little cousin, who, again, I don't know how old he was at the time. Let's say he was 4. He sat on the vacuum and like put his arms around it as my grandpa was trying to vacuum. So it was kind of like, okay, my grandpa kind of laughed or whatever and then said, trying to shoot him away. But the kid wouldn't get off. He wouldn't leave. And I remember my brother saw that. Now, my brother did not have kids at the time. And I remember him saying to me, if that was my kid not listening to Jija. Now, grandpa in Ukrainian Polish, we'd call him Jija. My grandma was Baba. Jija and Baba. He said, if my kid, did that to Jija, didn't listen to Jija, we would be outside and it would never happen again. I'm assuming he means, very stern talking to, maybe a spanking, maybe, whatever. But my brother was pissed seeing that, going, how dare that kid disrespect Jija. My brother was pissed. I still remember that. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay, well I get it, right? I mean, it was a little bit, like I just said, we would never have done something like that. Absolutely. I could never see my brothers or even me doing that. Maybe you do it, you get the laugh, whatever, and he tells you to get off, you get off. That's just what you would do. So I remember that's one of those things that stuck with me. Because I wanted to remember that. So my brothers both have kids. I've got 2 older brothers. So it's interesting now. This is where I talk about the generation thing. Now, would my brother be the same way with our parents? So now my parents are grandparents, right? So is my brother's kid, my nephew, is he going to respect the grandparents, my parents, like we did our grandparents? So will my brother be that strict, right? So, okay, he wants to, kick my cousin's ass for sitting on the vacuum. Okay, my brother's kids aren't the best behaved. So, we have get-togethers at my parents' house all the time. Okay, the kids aren't listening to Baba and G. This is where my dad is GG. You don't want to have them have the same name, right? So Jija is my grandpa. GG is my dad, the grandpa to my nephews. And so I was going to wait, right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to see when my brothers have kids. Like, are they going to be that strict? Are they going to say, hey, Gigi's talking. Gigi said no. Get the fuck off. Maybe not in those words. But I want to see the discipline. Like, I want to see the respect that my brothers are putting on their kids. And sure as shit, it was not the same. It's not the same. My dad says, don't do this. Hey, stop jumping on this. Don't play on that. Do the kids listen? Not necessarily. Is my brother stepping in and correcting that and saying, going into the other room and going, you listen to your Gigi. What he says goes. You are in his house. You do what he tells you. Never happens. Never happens. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't make me mad because it's more entertaining for me to watch. I'm a dick. Don't even pretend. You already know that I'm a dick. Don't even pretend that you don't think that I'm a dick. But it's for me, it's entertaining. I want to watch this play out. I'm the observer, right? I'm the casual observer on the sidelines, just going, hey, this is good. Okay, my dad's telling them not to do something because they're going to break it. I'm waiting for them to break it. I am. I'm sitting there, I want to watch them break it and see what happens. I heard him tell them no. I heard him. I saw. I'm the witness. And when they do break it, is my brother coming in, storming in, giving them shit? Taking this, we're going home right now? Or, hey, you give him that Christmas money to replace it? No, are you kidding? Fuck that. Not happening. So why is that, though? That's my question to you listeners. Why isn't that sort of... I talked about that on the previous show about parenting, where, it's not necessarily handed down, where I gave the example of that brother when we would go for lunch at a restaurant. And he would tell the kids to, watch, you're going to spill your drink. They don't listen to him. And 3 seconds later, right? Stop doing that. You're going to spill your drink. And 3, 2, splash. Why don't they listen? So if they don't listen to their parents, right? But that's the thing, is that we were raised to listen to our parents. And definitely our grandparents. So why, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if my brother was the one who was so pissed that my little cousin wouldn't get off the vacuum, and now, why aren't you the enforcer with your kids? Why aren't you doing that? You were pissed at our cousin. Why aren't you that way with your own kids? And let's be honest, that's going to make your kids better people. When you tell them to respect authority and their elders and whatever, I mean, that's what you want in society. That's not being unreasonable. That's not asking a kid. You're not asking a kid to do anything out of the ordinary. If anything, you're teaching them to be, a responsible, respectable person in society. Tell me any parent that's going to go and say, no, I don't want my kid to be irresponsible. I'm sure there are. I should think before I make those kinds. There's probably people who want to go and say, you know what, people need to earn your respect before you know what, it's your fucking grandparents, really. So where's the disconnect? Why isn't it happening? Maybe you could go and say, well, people are a little bit more casual and laid back now, right? Relationships with your grandparents are a little bit more casual and not so formal. Maybe that's part of the problem, though, right? I mean, maybe that's kind of the issue, is we've become so relaxed with the relationships now with everybody. Maybe that's where the kids are going wrong. I remember, so back to my grandparents' house, when we did have a gathering, and my cousin, now this is a different cousin. We've got a big family. This is a different cousin. He was sitting on one end of the couch. My grandpa's side of the couch was on the left, and why I say that is because I mentioned he had the throat, like the machine or whatever. So he actually had, his cleaning things, whatever, were on the table beside the couch. So it was kind of like, it's sort of his spot. It's not like the Al Bundy or whatever thing where it's like, that's my spot on the couch. No. He had his Kleenex and his cotton balls and things that he needed right there. So it was priority seating, if that's it, if you want to put it like that. Okay. So I remember my little cousin, and this cousin, always very respectful, even to my parents. And I actually remember thinking, when he got older, I think he's like almost 30 now. But I remember thinking, like, oh my God, he's so respectful to my mom and to my aunt and to, everybody as a teenager. And I'm thinking, this kid's going to rebel like any day now. He did eventually. But at this point, I don't remember how old he was. But he was sitting on that side of the couch, and my uncle, so that would be his grandpa, he was sitting across the living room, and so my cousin was sitting, and then all of a sudden my grandpa came into the room, and my uncle motioned to my cousin, was like, over, like, up, out, out, and my cousin didn't even think twice. Was up and just did it. Because his grandpa told him. It's respect. It's respect. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think my grandpa actually probably said, no, stay there, it's fine. But again, you even if he said that, you didn't go back. You just didn't. You just didn't. Because that's his spot. So yeah, my cousin was at that age where maybe he didn't know that's kind of the hierarchy or the kind of, whatever. But he did it because his grandpa said, out of there. So my grandpa, I guess, would be the great grandpa to that cousin. But where has that gone? Where has that gone? And I think maybe too, my grandparents never wanted to be palsy with us. When they would come to our school graduations and things, of course. But when they would come to, they would come to a Christmas concert. Holiday concert, I guess it's called now. Can we say Christmas concert? But I remember that being, I'm going to go back to the term king or queen. It was almost like it was kind of like a celebrity kind of, my grandparents are here tonight. That made it kind of a bigger deal. That's just how you felt about your grandparents. That's a great feeling, you know? Like you're just kind of, you revered them. Is that maybe the better word? Right? It was like, this is special. They're coming to this. They wouldn't, come to a, school volleyball game or, whatever. But if they showed up to your Christmas concert, yes. Yes. It was a big deal. But now, I mean, when I see my parents with the nephews, well, I've got how many do I have? I've got 5 nephews and 1 niece, right? He's got 2 kids and, yeah. How many do I have? 4 nephews. Bonnie is telling me in my ear. Thank you, Bonnie. I have 4 nephews and 1 niece. And she just, you're such a bitch. You're a bitch. Bonnie Winters, a grandmother, is a bitch. She just said, now name them and their ages. I don't know how old they are. Okay. I have a story to tell. Okay. You're saying to go to a break now. Okay, what am I doing? Can I finish? Say it again? Okay. Right. All right. We got to go, but okay, we're going to take a break. I'll come right back. I'm going to tell you the story about my nephews right back on the Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here on The Scribble. We're laughing. Okay, so the whole thing about, generations or whatever. All right, I got to tell you the story about my nephews and my niece. You have to remember, here's the thing. My husband and I, we go back and forth between Winnipeg, my hometown, and West Hollywood, okay? So, depending on the time of the year, or even, I was going to say, depending on even like the month, even, depending on the week even, we're back and forth. So, 2 of my... Oh, shit, I don't remember who it is. 1 nephew and 1 niece, I think it is. One of the kids has a birthday before Christmas. One of them has one in early January, and then one of them has in beginning of February, I think it is. So, award show season for me as an entertainment reporter is in January and February and early March, right? So, back when I was going back and I was commuting back and forth, I wasn't necessarily living in West Hollywood, but I would be living in Winnipeg and I would fly to Los Angeles for the weekend for the event, and then I would come back. So there was one weekend where the award show was on a Saturday. Was it the Screen Actor? I don't remember what it was. No, the SAGs is on Sunday. Something was on, whatever it was on a Saturday. I was coming back Sunday. Well, the family was having the birthday party on Sunday night because Monday was a holiday in Canada. So I didn't have time to buy a gift or anything, because again, award show season is sort of a little bit untouchable for my social life. It's kind of like, if there's time, there's time, but I'm not making social plans for things because I was hosting shows and doing whatever. If I can get to a nephew's party, then I get to a nephew's party. If not, whatever, So on the way home to Canada from the event, so this would have, I guess, been maybe early Sunday afternoon. Party would probably be at like 6-ish or so. So I'm on the plane and I'm texting with my sister-in-law's sister. We've become really good friends over the years. And so she's texting me and she was asking if I'm coming to the party tonight. And so I jokingly said, "Which kid is this for?" and I said, so before she could reply, I said, "Which kid is this for?" And then my next message was, "Is it the girl?" And then my next message, oh my God, okay. My next message was, "Raquel is her name?" Which my niece's name is Rachel. And so I'm on the plane and I burst out laughing because she hadn't even replied. And I'm thinking about her reaction as she's reading it. So I'm laughing at the thought of her laughing reading it. So anyway, I just had to tell that story because that made me laugh. Yeah, is it the girl? Okay. We're out of time. There we go. You know what? At least end on a laugh. But on a serious note, though, do you think that grandparents are kind of being palsy now with grandkids? I mean, my mom is very, very sort of casual and, a little bit very informal and, and that's maybe I think where you kind of lose that level of respect, right? Because, and it's even like parents, I guess, now, right? You want to be friends with your kid. You kind of have more, joking and palsy and, you're my friend and I'm not your parent, you're my friend. And that's, I think, maybe where, that level of respect is kind of gone. We never looked at our grandparents as, like a lower level, like that at the parent level. We never saw them as friends. Again, it was, So tell me, is it the same way for your generation of kids or nephews or nieces or the younger people in your life? Do they view the hierarchy? I was going to say the monarchy. The previous generations, the ancestors, super old, right? Do they view them the same way? Do they have that same level of respect? Do you think maybe that's where things are going wrong? Send me an email, live, L-I-V-E, @jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com. We're out of time. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this because, again, this is one of those things where, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who is like, my mom is everything. My mom is my queen. My mom is, fuck that. No, she's not my queen. Definitely not. Definitely not. And I wouldn't say that my grandma was, that I bowed down to her, but you just had the respect. That's what it was. You had the respect, and I don't know that it's still there anymore. I will talk to you on the next Scribble. All right, thanks. Bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter @thescribbleshow. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.